Recording started.
Okay, cool. Got it. All right, so hello everybody. Tom Cooney, Director of Customer Support. This is the delayed monthly metrics review for April. Whoever changed the date to accommodate my return from my daughter's wedding, I appreciate. Give me more time to prep. Anyhow, we've got the link to the deck and the support or the agenda and some highlights. So I'll just stop through the highlights right quick and then we can get into any questions folks might have. So in general, the highlights, first of all, I finally added some green, yellow, red tags. We can talk about what the thresholds are for those as you look at the slides, but we hit our first reply times SLAs for the key customer segments, as you'll see in the deck, as well as in for the SLA plans that we have, Premium, Ultimate, Gold, Silver. We've also, thanks to Brooks, completed the next iteration or new staffing model, showing us hiring on target thus far for fiscal year 20 Q2. It also lessens the number of hires that we had planned to make based on the previous revenue model. If I'm looking at that correctly, it's about 30 heads less through January of next year. And that's, again, there's a slide in the deck that talks about the gears that we worked through with Brooks to get to that model. Again, he put a lot of great effort into it, and I think it's come out pretty strong. So we'll be updating, thanks with the help of Lyle, updating the Team YAML page and other locations around where we have hires planned and hires documented and that sort of thing. I need to do some work with Brooks to kind of position where in regions we need to do hiring based on where we're at in those regions, as well as expected volume distribution between regions, et cetera. So we'll get the Team YAML page up to date. From a not so highlights, we're still missing our target of 95% across the board for CSAT. We've also missed it in April, I think probably the lowest in the last 3 months anyways, from just as technical support managed or handled tickets. There's a table again in the deck that talks about, or that breaks out where we're at from CSAT perspective based on the team or the form used for the ticket, which kind of indicates which team solves those tickets. So we put some processes in place to get better handle on all bad SATs in a more immediate fashion. And managers are responsible now to review those on a regular basis and identify where we need to do or what we need to do to take corrective action, put corrective action process in place, et cetera. So that just started hitting the wires this past week, I believe. So we're still refining that process. Also on the federal support, I don't know how much this has been a discussion elsewhere, but support has been asked to pull together a process for U.S. only citizens on U.S. land to manage customer requests from the U.S. federal customer base. So Liz Vinuesa and others have been working diligently to try to get this a process in place. We initially thought we could do brands within our current Zendesk Enterprise license, but we found out that that's not going to give us the security and I guess the capability to keep it secure and only to U.S. citizens. So it's definitely going to be a new instance for Zendesk. I'm meeting with Zendesk tomorrow to talk about how licensing will work, because for the foreseeable future, at least the next 6 months, as that customer base starts to grow and we get a better feel for the volume, we'll be using U.S. citizen support staff that is also supporting other customers. So it's not going to be a dedicated team specifically, but they will be dedicated to that instance. So what I'm trying to do is not have to pay for 2 licenses for Zendesk into both instances, but we'll see what happens there. So there will be some additional budget impact for that, hoping to find that what that will be tomorrow. And as you'll see in the deck, we're still not making our next reply internal performance of 85% target. We've got a hybrid queue process that basically is an assign to yourself after initial work has been done on it, so that we have more consistency with who the customer's interacting with. And I think that will help us from a next reply perspective. We've also made a change so that customers can identify which time zone they want to interact with somebody, so that we can make sure we're not skipping days or hours by going from region to region. Okay, so that's kind of my summary. Other questions or comments on the deck?
So Tom, that's good work on the model, but I guess what I think, if I take from your comments that we're moving to basing headcount on ticket volume and not necessarily dollars per ARR, that we're not gated by the number of headcount we have. So what is it that we need to do in order to get CSAT up to 95% and get service levels up to where they need to be, if it's not adding additional bodies to the mix?
Well, I think that the service level itself is from a response perspective is going well. I think the challenge, and this is why we've got the new process in place to understand where we're falling short on CSAT. A lot of it, I think some of it, from what I've seen thus far, has been some automations we've put in place to direct a customer that hasn't necessarily come out with a satisfactory response. I've seen a few where customers have let the issue close automatically after a 3-day notice and a 7-day wait period, and it not being solved. So there are some things I think we can clean up in process that will help us achieve. And we're not that far away, to be quite honest with you. But it's it's a trend we want to stop. And I think with the direct involvement of managers on each bad SAT, we'll capture trends fairly quickly. Does that help?
Yep, thanks.
Cool. So Sid's question on the hybrid queue: why do people have to assign someone else instead of putting them back in the queue? I think the idea here is kind of one of a couple things. Lyle's been working on something to help us do, I think, a skills-based routing sort of an approach, and identifying issues with skills that our support engineers have. So there will be that element to it, that we'll have somebody that isn't struggling trying to learn a particular element of the solution that they don't know yet while they're trying to work with a customer. That I think gives us the opportunity to assign somebody that has that specific skill. I think the other piece is just, we try, and I think it works pretty well to have this open queue, and people can work on anything and participate and contribute to a particular ticket. It's in those situations when we're talking about next reply, it's not just the second reply, it's every reply afterwards. So the more, the more handoffs you have, the more opportunity there is for just continued replies, right? Or a longer set of replies. And so what we're trying to do is shorten that cycle. And we think that this assigned aspect of it will help us get there. If it doesn't, then we'll adapt and adjust. But that's the thinking right now. I don't know if I didn't look at attendees here, but if Lyle or Lee are on, then certainly can pipe in.
Yeah, the hazard, I can add a bit more color. The hazard in some of is that in some of the longer running tickets where there's a lot of handoff, when you see 30 responses with a whole bunch of technical context, there's a temptation to run away. And so having individual assignees and making sure that somebody is individually assigned and that there is a defined handoff procedure is going to help both reduce the number of replies and make those tickets less scary, because there's been only a subset of engineers who have the full context of the ticket in their head, where they don't need to analyze pages and pages of notes. And there's another part that I just forgot, but that's the main idea.
Makes sense. Thanks.
Thanks, Lyle. So I don't want to speak for you. You want to
I can
vocalize?
speak for myself. So you mentioned that it wasn't possible in Zendesk to keep tickets limited to a select group of people. Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yeah, it's in the way. The way we were initially attempting it was within our instance, we can set up separate brands, so a different kind of location. But those locations don't exclude anybody that has access to that Zendesk instance to look into tickets in that brand. So we couldn't like force just a set of people to that brand within the overall instance of Zendesk. So what we've done is created this federal instance that only U.S. citizens, and the first step was trying to get identified those U.S. citizens that are support people into that instance. So nobody else will be able to go into that instance and look at a ticket without having access capabilities to it. And if I don't have, it's certainly in the OKR list around the federal support. So there's a pretty thorough list that Liz has put together into the federal support implementation issue that I think highlights some of the other security challenges that we had with the initial approach at brand.
Thanks.
Sure.
Average daily tickets per support rep target is 3. What is the industry average?
So in past lives, in more technical companies, I've used 5 at a, let me background context from my experience. My experience is on the level 2, level 3 sorts of environments where companies had tiered support. And in tiered support, the industry average from a tier 1 where you've got kind of more of a customer service is around 10, where they're handling password requests, those types of things. Industry average on a more technical side, the deeper you go technical, the smaller the average. So at a level 2, I've used 5 tickets a day from a support staffing perspective. And then when we get to a point where I've had sustaining teams and we've compared to other organizations, 2 to 3 in a sustaining type of a organization, 2 to 3 is kind of the average to model to. And that's been kind of what I've used and what I've compared to in other groups for probably the last 3 companies I've worked with, and they were all pretty technical teams. So what we're trying to do with this is start with 3 because it's a blend to where we were looking at from the .com agents and the support engineers, and see how we can improve that over time. And that will be tricky. And I know this isn't specific to the industry average kind of thing, but it'll be tricky because the more we try to automate or put documentation in place to solve customers' problems before they contact us or while they're trying to figure out if they need to contact us, the more complex the tickets will become, right? So it'll take longer time to solve. So we'll work all of those things into the evolution of the model. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thanks for that. How long does it take for a password request as a support person? How many minutes would that take for me to answer?
Lyle, I wouldn't think too long, but if it's...
I mean, for just purely password, we send them back to the password form. So minutes. For more complex issues where it's like 2-factor and they need to have some measure of proving that they own the account, it can be more complex just because of the test that we have to perform.
Yeah, it depends a bit, but like suppose you have 8 effective hours a day, then doing 10 of those tickets, it's almost, it's like 45 minutes a ticket or something. Strikes me as a lot, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can't work the entire time. Maybe have I'm not sure. How should I think about that?
I mean, I think there's tasks outside of just purely handling tickets. So there are contributions to meta issues. There are escalations that occur. So yeah, I mean, in a perfect model, yeah, you're right. 45 minutes for one ticket of relatively easy quality is a long time. But I think that the way that we have it modeled is fairly accurate to what the experience at GitLab is.
And that makes sense. We're looking at tickets only, but you have a lot of other stuff going on in your day. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Lyle. Thanks, Sid. Any other questions, comments, emotional outbursts? Okay, well, that's it for, I don't have my watch, a few minutes, seconds. Anything else? You guys, too kind, 15 minutes back, 10 minutes back on your day? All right, well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for participating and joining in. See y'all.
See you.